computer. Got it. Hey everyone, what a privilege to talk to my sponsor, John Kinnear. Some of you have heard mention of my excitement about Cash Effects, and John has some great information regarding that. He did a talk in Rotterdam, and that really excited me. I've never seen anything so simple and so powerful. And so, John, I'd love a little more background. Some of the folks that will be seeing this don't know much of you. I've had a long history with you, a couple of projects, and really admire your professionalism and your background. So just a little quip kind of on your background as far as business-minded and entrepreneurial status, things like that.
Sure, Chase. Thanks very much, first of all. It's a pleasure to chat with you always. I got started young. I'm a commercial photographer by trade, so I was 18 or 19 years old when I opened my first business. And listen, I got to be straight up. I've always been a lazy kid. The reason I'm self-employed is so that I can squeeze maximum results out of minimum effort. And so I've always been fixated on ways that one can leverage themselves, and the whole 9 to 5 and resign yourself to 40 or 50 years of work. I just can't do it, buddy. So that's really, honestly, that's front and center right around the way that I work. So I'm not a super achiever. I'm not an overachiever. I'm just very tactical in the approach that I take. So absolutely anybody can do what I do.
Awesome. Well, that's very encouraging. Basically, if you put your mind to it, you can do it, and you're doing it enough just to get the ball rolling and keep it rolling, which is great.
It's, I got started my first network marketing company. I was a kid. I was in my mid-20s. And this concept of leveraging yourself in others, when the penny dropped, and it took a while for it to drop, but when the penny dropped, man, I was hooked. And I just, I ended up, I didn't want to sell my retail business because, listen, if I'm being completely honest, I knew nothing about network marketing, and I didn't know anything. I didn't know if it was legal. I didn't know if it was a flash in the pan. I didn't know if it'd be gone tomorrow. So I didn't want to sell my income, my identity, which was my own personal studio. But eventually, I think 18 months in, I was, as a young person, still making, I hit $20,000 a month. Never looked back since then. So that business, 24 years ago, has continued to pump out a weekly income for me. And I've just added other things to it.
That's fantastic. Really encouraging. And that's what attracted me to you, is I've had that fascination with the power of leveraging yourself, of duplicating yourself. As a photographer myself, one photographer said, if you sell a photograph, if you take a good enough photograph and it's a really strong image, it can sell multiple times over and over. From then on, I was just hooked. And so this idea of income streams and leveraging and all the power of entrepreneurial, I'm right there with you. And so very exciting. So
yeah, it's so funny, actually. After I retired, when I retired from photography, there was no digital photography yet.
Right.
So I'm kind of dating myself a little bit, but shooting stock now, I mean, if I was a young person, again, that's exactly what I would be doing, because you're leveraging yourself.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, you were in Rotterdam, and you were speaking to some folks that had already kind of been members of Cash FX maybe, and you were doing another presentation, and you had some thoughts to share with them.
Yeah. Basically, wealthy people and corporations, they leverage themselves constantly.
Sure.
And what they do is they leverage their money. So you can leverage, you meaning anybody, can leverage two things. You can either leverage time or you can leverage money. And so if you don't have an abundance of money to leverage, you can still get involved in that game, and at a highly profitable level. In fact, I think you're almost better off becoming a master at leveraging time than you are leveraging money. Because if you only had an extra 10, 15, 20, $30,000 that you could leverage, you're not going to get that far with that, but you could get incredibly far leveraging a little bit of time. And it's all based on systems. So, taking a systematic approach to anything we do, what it does is it reduces our workload. If you take a look at the most successful franchises around the world, when you buy a McDonald's, you're buying a system. You're not buying, You're not buying a grill to make hamburgers.
Right. Right. Gotcha. Well, good. Well, let's hear a little bit about what you were presenting there, and you got the presentation ready to go. So
Yeah, it takes like 5 minutes to blast through it, so we can do it right now.
that's perfect. That sounds great.
So basically what we're seeing right now, and I had actually made this presentation and typed this header, global markets are nervous, before any of the coronavirus challenge started hitting us, because it just really wasn't a topic for conversation even 2 weeks ago, really.
Yeah.
It wasn't sort of mainstream. When I said markets are nervous, what I was talking about was the fact that more and more companies are starting up in the trading space and in the network marketing space, because it's becoming less and less expensive to start a company.
Mm-hmm.
So you can position yourself online. You could buy a back office. You can do all these things for, pennies on the dollar of what it would have cost 2 decades ago, or even 1 decade ago, where you were paying teams of coders to build these things out, customized for you.
Sure. Gotcha.
And so in my opinion, there's a lot of people that have an online presence that are taking other people's money, being CEOs, that just have no business being in business for themselves.
Gotcha.
They don't have the experience. They don't have the cash flow. They don't have any of the things required. It's a guy or a girl with an idea. And in business, a guy or girl with an idea, go away. Teenagers get great ideas every day. That's just not a good enough reason to go into business for yourself.
Right.
And the problem is that the CEOs that are full of confidence are actually, because they posture, and not exclusively, but in many cases. And so we pick this stuff up, we find it online, or someone sends it to us, and we get involved in platforms, and they just, if they're part of the 15% that are actually a viable business model, and they don't have the experience, well, that's great. They survive the 85% failure rate, and then they collapse under their own success because the corporate team still doesn't have the experience to keep the business afloat. So we're just seeing failure after failure after failure after failure. We just never saw them before because these people didn't have an avenue to get into business. If we were speaking about traditional business, they wouldn't have had the cash flow to even get started. But they can bring their idiot ideas online, and we find them, and they don't look ridiculous when we're being exposed to the websites quite often.
Gotcha. Yep.
So that's really, when I talk about a nervous market, I'm talking about the fact that there are just so many failures in relationship to winners these days. I've never seen the statistics quite as sour as they are right now. And so this whole idea of buyer beware and doing your due diligence really is taking of meaning. And if you don't have the experience to do due diligence, sometimes you throw a dart in the dartboard.
Right. Unfortunately, my internet might be blipping here.
That's okay. I've got you back now.
Okay, gotcha.
So here's where we're at. We've got a couple of options. One of the options, and I'm speaking in general terms about the average individual, and everyone watching the recording can agree on, is the world is more expensive now than it. Am I a bit choppy, Chase?
Yeah, and I think it's more on my end. I apologize. I'll see what I can do here, but keep going.
I think we probably go through pockets of a good feed. Can you hear me okay now? Or is it still struggling?
It's still a little edgy, so let me try something here. I'm gonna see what my speed is.
Because I'm in a hotel right now doing a self-isolation after getting back from Europe, I don't have the best. I'm at around 30 or 40 megabytes a second download right now.
Yeah.
Which should easily be good enough for a Zoom.
Yep. And I'm at 10 or 11 download. Normally I get 30, which is surprising. So anyway.
Because the whole world's at home right now, surfing.
That's it. That is it. Well, it's getting
huge strains on the infrastructure.
Yes, exactly. It's coming back up. I think we'll just continue on. So go ahead.
Oh yeah, we'll be fine.
Yeah.
So we're left with these options. One of them is to do nothing. And honestly, do nothing may have been an option 15 or 20 years ago for
Mm-hmm.
most people. I don't think do nothing is an option for very many people anymore.
No.
And so if you're going to do something, I think really it's going to be a bona fide approach to be sensitive to the market conditions.
Mm-hmm.
And market conditions are people are nervous.
Yeah.
So when you're bringing anything to anyone, you're going to be met with some negativity and skepticism.
Sure.
But if you are aware that that's going to be coming your way, you can manage it.
Right.
Right? Very simple.
Yep.
So my approach for this short presentation really is to encourage people to start with the smallest trade contract for cash FX. Not start with $1,000 or $2,000 or $5,000 or $10,000 because most people are stretched right now, especially with everything being shut down. Most people are not going to want to tap into any savings they have.
Mm-hmm.
I would encourage them to, instead of leverage their savings, leverage their time. Right now, we all have an abundance of time. Most of us have been sent home.
Right.
Right. So let's leverage that time over the next 30 days. And there's some really quite amazing things that one can accomplish by doing that. So here's how it works very simply. You start with the smallest possible trade contract. And obviously the smallest possible trade contract is going to get what? It's going to get the least amount of resistance.
Right.
Now, here's the caveat. When I talk to my friends about this, I say, listen, I don't want you to start at $5,000 or $2,000. I only want you to start at $3,000, but I am only going to work with you if you start at $300 and you must select 3 friends to come along for the ride. You must. It's not an option.
Right.
And my friends resist. And I say, listen, I understand entirely. And here's how you manage that. And I pick up a phone call and do a role play with them and say, I phone my friend and say, listen, have you ever done anything at all in the Forex space before? Ever made any money in Forex?
And I'll answer because I have. I'll say yes.
How did it go?
It went good for a while, but overall, it just was something I could not maintain. And so I eventually quit.
So there's quite a few things involved in learning and then ultimately mastering Forex.
Yes, absolutely.
What if I could show you a strategy that's been running really well consistently for 9 months now? It's fully automated, so you don't have the burdens that you went through the first time, but can definitely realize a more consistent gain. Would you be curious about that?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Now, typically, Chase, I use the word curious because it doesn't put people back. You know, we walk into a clothing store and the service person asks if they can help you. And for some reason, this voice comes out of us involuntarily. No, thanks. I'm just looking.
Exactly.
We just don't like to get boxed into a corner.
Right. That's true.
So language is a big, big part of that. And I ask my friends, listen, all I need is your curiosity. You don't have to commit to anything.
Right. Got it.
And it just really makes a much more of a seamless process.
With curiosity, it just means you're open. There's no commitment. So that really helps.
That's it.
Yeah.
So the idea here, you can see already from the 3 bullets on the page, is starting small so that virtually anyone that you select, there's a high percentage that they're going to want to participate with you. That's the first step. And then the second step, by insisting on growth in multiples of 3, you can already see what's going to start to happen. You're going to start to leverage your time. So when we operate with systems, what happens, and first of all, simple systems obviously are much easier to teach than complicated ones. And so they can really take off on you once you've got that initial foundation in place. And that initial foundation is you selecting 3 friends and getting them positioned and then helping them do the same. That's it. So if the whole process is easy enough, really by the time second generation comes, which is those 3 friends finding 3 friends, they actually don't need you to hold their hand. In fact, when you get to the 3rd generation, they're already successfully doing the same thing with the 3 friends that they brought on. So you don't actually have to be there as a general through the whole process.
Well, and I know that's true because as I explain and show people, it's the simplest thing I've ever done. Absolutely.
And really, you know, the insight of the executives, the architects of the platform, to remove the auto ship is so key.
That's a big point. So let's expand on that too.
So there's Forex platforms that are very successful, American Forex platforms, Canadian Forex platforms, European platforms, and they've been around for a long, long time. So absolutely people can make money in Forex. They can make a lot of money. And network marketing company, it's even consistent enough that network marketing companies can survive for many years with Forex as a product. Where it becomes challenging is if a member joins a platform and they maybe only have 500 or 400 or $600 or $700 to put into their brokerage account. And if they're, let's say, for example, paying $150 a month auto ship, and they don't net 20% for the month, they're underwater that month.
Yeah.
So you got involved in a home-based business to create cash flow, to make money, and you broke even, or worse, you lost money.
Yeah.
So it's that monthly burden that can really be a challenge. The other thing that they've done, which I think is very, very smart, is they've removed the requirement to download MetaTrader 4 and to learn how to use MetaTrader 4. So you don't even have to download the software for MetaTrader and install an EA. You don't even have to do that. It's all being managed for us, which I think is absolute key for success in this type of space.
Yeah, absolutely. As you mentioned, that's what I've done previously, and I'm quite computer literate. I mean, I can do stuff with both hands tied on my back most of the time, and so, but most people can't even begin to do that, and it would be a challenge for most of the average people that don't even know what Forex is. So,
yeah. Remember in the beginning I said that I'm a lazy guy and I really try to be strategic about my work?
Yeah.
Anytime that I was getting involved in anything, I was always analyzing the workload based on the least competent or the least capable of my friends.
Right.
And if I felt the system couldn't tread water for those individuals, then I didn't want anything to do with it. Because it makes zero difference whether I'm a proficient trader or I'm proficient on my computer. If we're talking about leveraging other people's time and building a blueprint that way, if the majority of people are going to have trouble with something, is it really going to grow exponentially?
Right. Yeah.
So most of this stuff is common sense, but we just don't often take a step back to think about it that way.
And I remember you in previous times where you absolutely said, I don't ever want to do stuff myself. And so that rings true. I remember that distinctly.
I want to make Forex profits. I don't want to spend a second trading.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
It's work. You and I both have friends that are passionate traders. And it's like they speak a different language.
Yeah.
When they get excited, I'm just shaking my head. I don't get it.
Right.
But show me the profits. I'm very happy to market a platform like that.
Well, and it's the largest market in the world. I mean, it can handle the biggest growth. I mean, it just dwarfs anything else. So if you have a big company and it grows, where else do you want to be except in the Forex market?
And it's recession proof.
Yeah.
How important is recession proof right now while everyone's banned is sent back to their homes?
So why, I mean, I know, but why is it recession proof?
Well, first of all, the way the Forex market works is we're always trading one currency versus another. So we're talking about fiat currencies, paper money. Every country around the world has a central bank. And central bank and banking, but there's millions and millions and millions of corporations and individuals also involved in the Forex market. So it's absolutely massive, as you said before. So if the Great British Pound is rising and the US dollar is dropping, there's still plenty of opportunity to make money in either direction. If the Japanese yen is rising and the Aussie dollar is dropping, or the Swiss franc is kicking butt and New Zealand dollar is dropping, it doesn't matter. The market as a whole doesn't drop and it doesn't rise. It's always constant.
When we saw this just last week, the end of March 14th, that Friday, the stock markets, the cryptocurrency market, they did absolute nosedives. We're talking 30, 40%.
Yeah.
And as I recall, for the end of that week, we all, including you and I, made 8% profit.
Yep.
Astonishing. I can't tell you, well, it's hard to put that into words how powerful that is.
It's the peace of mind that I think is absolutely essential to be sane at this era in our lives.
Right. Yeah. Well, great. So
let's move on. Okay.
Yeah,
so let me share a little graphic with you. All right. We talked about simplicity, and this is just one of the bonuses that CFX has. This is actually a back-end bonus. It's not the front-end fast start bonus or the unilevel. The reason I'm using this as an example is this is the slowest building bonus that the company has. It's more of a long-term bonus. So if I could show a strategy that could create significant profit in this slower building bonus, then I felt very confident that people, when they start to see what's happening on the front end bonuses, the fast start bonuses and the unilevels, would have a fantastic personal experience. So really the idea is to break your work down into 4-week segments. And if right now where people are at home and they can tackle this more aggressively, you could actually do this week by week by week. Let me give you an example. If you called me, Chase, and I decided I was going to work on this with you, you could say, John, I want you not only to get involved in the $300 contract, but 1 week. I'm going to give you 1 week to select the 3 friends that you're going to bring along with you. And I'll jump on a 5-minute Zoom with them and we'll have a little chat with them. Maybe you got to speak with 5 people to find the 3 that are going to run with you. Maybe you got to speak to 10.
Right.
Doesn't matter. You got the time right now. Speaking to 10 people in 5-minute Zoom calls would still be done within only 1 day of 1 week.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the way that this matrix works, this is the 3x10 matrix. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with this platform, this is a bonus. It's a perpetual bonus, and perpetual because as individuals participate in this Forex platform, and as they make money in the fast start bonuses and the interlevel bonuses from sharing it, they ultimately are going to make profits, not only trading profits, but rewards plan profits. When they make a withdraw, the way the CFX system is structured is they're going to be charged a 20% withdraw fee. Now, that's a big withdraw fee.
Yeah.
But it would only be big if the company kept it. The company actually keeps none of it. 0.0% goes to the company. It all comes back to us. And so it was designed this way very deliberately to make this rewards plan highly lucrative. But the other thing that it's very, very smart the way they've engineered this. And they were designing this for about 8 months before they took this to market and pre-launch. And the design basically is acknowledging one very important thing. And that is any one entity is going to have a ceiling on the amount of money that they can trade. You're not going to be able to trade into the tens of trillions of dollars. That would be just absurd.
Right.
And so there will be a time, now granted it's several years down the road, but there will be a time when CFX will cut off the ability for new members to join. And so anyone that's actually using the platform, the company can manage trading X amount of those assets and will continue to do so, but new members won't come in. But because of the way the whole system operates, you'll continue to make your fast start bonuses and your unilevel bonuses, your trading gains Monday to Friday for Forex, and you'll continue to make money when everybody does their withdrawals.
Yeah.
The reason that's the case is because people can start at $300 contracts, and without going into their pocket and spending another dollar, they can upgrade to a $500 contract and $1,000 and $2,000, all the way through the contract ladder.
Yeah.
So every time they upgrade, guess what happens? We get paid again.
Right.
We get a fast start bonus and we get a unilevel bonus. And as those members have success, they withdraw to do another upgrade, and that withdraw triggers a third bonus, and that is this withdraw fee feeds this matrix.
So again, this is just a small part of the compensation, and it's the end part in a way, but it's very powerful, and we could focus on other parts of it, but I mean, it's all good. And everybody is earning these daily profits through the trading, and we're having positive growth to our account. And this is completely separate of that.
It is. It is. Yeah. So I want you to just have a look at the diagram here. You can see the front line of this. It's because it's a fixed 3x10 structure. Your front row can only be 3 people wide. Gotcha. So if, for example, the sharing became quite easy for you and you shared with a 4th friend or a 5th or a 6th or a 7th, and you can share with as many as you choose, just remember, in this particular system, you're going to focus on helping them bring 3 friends in.
Right.
We really want to focus on leveraging our time, leveraging their time to create extraordinary results, so we don't have to leverage large amounts of capital because many don't have it.
Yeah.
So you can see this is growing in multiples of 3. 3, 9, 27, 81, 243, etc.
Yep.
Now I've chopped this off at level 7, even though it actually goes to level 10, because we're only focusing on the first generation that I filled myself, and then driving 6 more generations of exponential growth.
Right.
So let's have a quick look at how this starts to gain a benefit for us. First of all, I will tell you this is based on everyone in this genealogy at some point doing a $1,000 withdrawal. And just to give you a sense of how achievable a $1,000 withdrawal is, there are many people now that are doing $5,000, $10,000, $20,000, $50,000 withdrawals,
Right.
9 months in. So
Right.
hitting $1,000 to withdraw, having that happen to your team on a monthly basis, that's a very achievable early goal.
Yeah, I've done it 3 times, and I believe I joined late July. So I've done it 3 times, and we're talking mid-March now. So it does still take a little time, but once you get rolling, you're withdrawing and putting back, you're reinvesting your profits back in, and you're keeping some out, which is fantastic.
Mm-hmm. And you're also moving your way through that contract ladder, which I'm sure you're doing.
Yes. Yeah. Currently at a $2,000 contract. I started with the 500. But the wisdom of starting at 300 is just immense. It's so much smarter.
And believe it or not, I actually have friends that started at $300. I have one friend that started at 300 that's on a $100,000 contract right now.
Oh my goodness. Wow, that's great.
Some that are 50s and 20s and 10s. So I'll show you exactly how one would do this.
Okay.
So on a $1,000 withdrawal, remember there's a 20% withdrawal fee. That's a $200 fee. Well, 50% of that fee feeds this particular bonus.
Okay.
So remember, years down the road, which is what we're all getting involved in home-based business to accomplish, to try to create an income source for ourselves that can follow us.
Right.
So everyone making a $1,000 withdrawal, that's $100, 50% of the fee, $100 on $1,000 that feeds this bonus.
Right.
So if you see the 3%, for example, on level 1,
yep,
on $100, you would earn $3 for every person on level 1. So you'd make $9.
Right. Got it.
Right? On level 2, $3 per person would make you $27. On level 3 would make you $243. On level 4 would make you $405. So as this continues to grow, now remember, I stopped at level 7. Level 7 is would give you a total of over $75,000 per month. And this is fully automated. There's really nothing for you to do. And this, by the way, because it's based on withdrawals that are just going to continue to get larger and larger and larger as their gains get larger, because not only you are starting to earn more and move your contracts higher and higher, but they're starting to do the same thing as well.
Kind of hard to predict exactly what the revenue will be because everyone's in different places, different contracts, but it's all speeding forward and progressive, and no one's doing a darn thing unless they want to watch their screen. I mean, for months I haven't paid attention to this, and now I'm just ecstatic because it's so overwhelmingly awesome because it's passive, it's simple, and it's really going to be rewarding because when you have a money machine or whatever you want to call this, you want to share this. I mean, you're tempted to share it with the 50 people that you know in your life throughout the week, but the temptation is really to get this to drive it down, and that's why you stay with 3. You can share it, but you start with your 3 and drive it down because that's where you're getting your growth, and that's what a company structure is. They have a few vice presidents, but they have a lot of managers and then employees down. You got to get down to that lower steps and take your time to train and just simply share this with people that you care for, of course, and you select, but then they can duplicate your efforts.
If you spend a little bit extra time with people in the early stages too, they really appreciate it. So if I was one of your 3 and I'm a little bit apprehensive, I was willing to set the $300 aside, but I was a little apprehensive about reaching out to people. If you're giving me a little coaching and guidance through the process because you've just completed it, it just gives me that little bit extra confidence that I might need to get started. And then really I encourage people to stop at 3 and shift that energy to helping those people do the same thing. Because you'll make more using leverage. That's what you're doing when you're teaching a system. You're leveraging time. You'll make much more leveraging time than you will being the only person that's driving this forward, i.e. you sign 300 or 400 people.
Right.
You'll make far more just signing 3 and teaching that.
Now, John, to back up a little bit, you already have success with a network marketing company. You've done something, but I'm guessing you didn't do it with 3 people.
In my last project, and that project is ended up paying me an awful lot of money over the years.
Right.
I signed up about 20, 25 friends over a 5-year period of time.
Okay. Right.
Now, keep in mind, as you start to have success, it's like shooting fish in a barrel at that point, right?
Sure. Gotcha. But obviously, this is not the intensive amount of effort that you had previously done when you were in your mid-20s.
Well, that was a supplement product that I
Oh,
still use today.
right.
And so, as you can imagine, as a photographer, talking to my young friends about vitamin supplements,
Yeah.
they probably thought I was kicked in the head by a horse.
Right.
Right. So I can't think of much in this world that's more difficult than that.
Right. Exactly. This is eons advanced and simpler and just naturally attractive because it's a money product, and that's exciting.
We're also talking about a platform that's completely transparent. You have access to iframes in your back office to view trades that are taking place. You
Right.
can see where their stop losses are. You can see where their trade take profits are. You also have a clear path of every dollar in the system. You know the 30% when someone buys, let's say, a $300 contract, 30% or $90 of that is going to a product sale, and that's
Mm-hmm.
the online university.
Right.
And so, for example, in the US, which is where I know you are, the FTC requires a product that be sold, and that's
Mm-hmm.
the money that moves into a compensation plan. You can't have money that gets paid to members from trading results because you would have to have a securities license.
Right. Got it.
That's very important. So,
Yeah.
these companies, if they're not structured properly, there's no way they can stand the test of time. So these
Yeah.
guys put a lot of time and energy making sure that this was done right. And of course, all their legal team is all US based, which is a good thing for everybody, regardless of the country you might be in, because
Right.
the US are the strictest laws. And once they green light all of that, then the rest fall into place very easily.
Right. Now, you have been working with the corporate team, and actually you've been promoted to a position as a marketing officer. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'm a director. Yeah. So
Director. Okay.
I'm doing some consulting with them, but my focus is still working in the field.
Gotcha. And so you really have a touch with the CEO and a lot of the traders and all this. And what has been your impression of all that? And the time and the capitalization, all that wrapped up.
Well, we talked earlier about people getting involved in businesses, launching companies, and being undercapitalized.
Mm-hmm.
That's the exact opposite case here. These guys have been previously very, 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 I'll throw one more very in, successful in the past. And that's given them the capitalization to launch this the way it should be launched. Most people already know from press releases that they've purchased the 9th floor of the RBS Tower. There's some very prestigious tenants that they're with in that tower. They pay cash for that building.
Wow.
I'm not sure how much they're spending on leasehold, but it's a solid multi-7-figure investment. I know that they're spending an awful lot of money with attorneys to make sure that this is properly set up and structured legally in the US and then beyond. You can't do those things without a high level of capitalization. But beyond that, you have to be extremely committed to what you're doing to be spending multiple millions of dollars, in the first year of your company's operation. Most people, what they would do is they would have a fixed profit margin. Let's say it's a 15% on gross, and that would be the money they would run the company with and
Right.
also invest for future. These guys are going miles beyond that.
Wow. Great. Well, that's exciting because I know your passion for this company and just the success. And now I see it clear as day. This is such a simple picture. And I've done things like this before. And I know the simplicity. And I'll keep working with you, of course, to fine tune things because obviously you have a lot of experience. And we all have things to learn, but it's little incremental shifts, maybe in language, but the system does everything else, and that's really encouraging.
It's a process, but it's not a difficult one.
Right. I mean, a job, first of all, is so much harder, and the things you have to learn in that. This is a fraction of that, and so if you've had a job before, you can learn this basically, right?
Think about learning to play golf. For anyone who sorry, my phone's ringing.
Yeah.
For anyone who has thought at some point they want to learn how to play golf, well, you would be able to retire yourself probably 20 times over with less the skill set that's required to learn how to play golf well.
Gotcha. Yeah, great. Well, good. Well, John, that's extraordinary. I'm very appreciative of your time and energy and just your expertise. And I will be sharing this with a lot of my team and building a really strong team myself. So it's going to be a fun ride for all of us.
Yeah, and we're going to do a lot of Zoom, so we'll book them as often as is needed. We'll do a lot of group presentations, and I think especially during this downtime where a lot of people are maybe struggling and panicked a bit as to what the future holds, I'll be available for all of those calls as well.
Well, great. I appreciate that. It just means a lot. And thanks again for your time.
You bet.
All right.
Take it easy.
Bye. Okay.